How do you know if we start talking about old village temples and how we worshipped and how we went and what kind of food we ate and all that? You think the culture of a people is confined to the temples that they build or the universities or the cement and the stone blocks, buildings that they build? Culture is the people, how they practice it. So I thought we should start something based on the temple, how the temple is running, so that the young people, whether they are from Sri Lanka or India or Singapore or Holland or Denmark, doesn't matter. They should have an exposure to this thing and understand why. And what is the symbol of a Saivite? The vibhuti, isn't it? So I called it VSI, Vibhuti Saivite Immersion. And it was started to teach kids like you the culture, the ups and downs of how it is and what the worship is like, how they dress, how they ate. How they sang. And Vibhuti also means the grace that comes from a deity.
Shri Matre Namaha. Namaskaram everyone and welcome back to our Sacred Rites and Rituals of Sanatana Dharma learning series, which is a joint presentation by the Sri Vidya Temple Society, Rochester, New York, USA, and Ashtanga Yoga Mandir, Sri Lanka. These lectures are conducted by Sri Chaitanyanandanatha, affectionately known as Ayya. Ayya is the founder and Peethadhipati of the Sri Vidya Temple. Both Ayya and Amma, Srimati Jnanamba, have dedicated their lives to the noble mission of preserving and spreading the knowledge of Devi worship and the rich traditions of Saiva Bhakti. The temple will be hosting a few events and programs in the coming weeks. Every year, the temple arranges a group Shraddha Tarpanam on Adi Amavasya so that all may fulfill this important duty to one's paternal ancestors. This year, the Tarpanam will be held on Wednesday, July 27th, 2022. For more information about how to get involved, please visit srividya.org. This year, the temple will be conducting an auspicious Shata Chandi Mahayajnam over the weekend of July 29th to the 31st of 2022. It will conclude on Adi Puram, July 31st. It is our humble and heartfelt wish that this devotional offering will bring powerful divine blessings for peace, prosperity, and happiness for all the devotees and all beings. Vibhuti Saivite Immersion is a 1-week-long overnight program conducted by the Sri Vidya Temple Society on the temple premises for kids aged 10 to 18. This program began back in 2004, and since then, this program continues to grow as it is a platform for younger learners in our community to experience an engaging and immersive learning program. With the blessings of Ayya, Amma, and the Devi, Vibhuti Saivite Immersion has been running for 17 successful years. With their blessings, this will be the 18th year of VSI. This year, VSI will run from Saturday, July 30th, 2022 to Saturday, August 6th, 2022. During the VSI program, staff strive to immerse the children in the rich traditions of Saiva temple culture. As our temple is a learning temple, it is an ideal place for kids to get involved and truly experience the wealth of Saiva philosophy, worship, and plenty of hands-on learning opportunities for our younger learners. Through inspirational and educational classes with Ayya, presentations from guest speakers, and sessions with the counselors, each child is encouraged to find his or her own personal connection with Saiva culture and devotion in a fun-filled setting. Just a note to all, we will not have our sacred rites and rituals session for the next 2 weeks as the temple will be observing the following events. For more information about Adi Amavasya, Adi Puram, and Shata Chandi, as well as Vibhuti Saivite Immersion, please visit our website, which is srividya.org. For those interested in viewing content shared during the sessions, please note that all content being discussed in these sessions will be posted after the conclusion of the respective topic on our webpage. Please use the question form to share any questions you might have pertaining to the content discussed. For those viewing our live stream, our question form can also be found on our webpage, which is srividya.org/aym-lectures. At this time, we will hand it over to Ayya to begin today's session.
Om Hamsasiva Soham Hamsaha Hasakafrem Hasakshamalavarayum Hasaum Sahakshamalavaraim Saho Swarupa Nirupana Hetave Swagurave Sri Annapurneshwari Amba Sameda Sri Sri Amrutanandanada Saraswati Mahapattaraka Sri Guru Sri Padukam Pujayami Tarpajami Namaha. Namaskaram, everyone. We are going to conclude the series on the Rasi Mandala Puja We did part of the question and answer series last week. And today is the concluding part of this. My prostrations in front of my Guru, Srila Sri Amritanandanada Saraswati of Devipuram, India. I implore that he sit on my open heart lotus and speak through me. The Rajamandala Puja was concluded about 3 weeks ago in the temple premises. And as usual, people who watched the live streaming, people who participated in person, and people who heard it over the airwaves have had questions about this puja because it is an unusual puja, we admit that. And it is both unusual, unique, and powerful at the same time. So let us conclude this session with the question and answer session that is to follow. People who are listening to me right now, you may also send in questions to be answered before the end of the session, if there is time. Can we go to the first question, the new questions? Thank you.
The first question is, can you tell us a story about Sri Amma? Why did she say it is important to worship the Navagrahas?
Can you tell us a story about Sri Amma? Is that part of the question or at a separate question? So there are two questions here. Okay. Let me tell you a story about Sri Amma. When we were about to meet Amma for the last time, it happened in California, in a place called the Antelope Valley, very close to Lancaster. That's about 110 miles north of Los Angeles. And Lancaster is peopled by many, many physicians who have come from Sri Lanka. So Lancaster is jestingly called Sri Lancaster. Now, some of the people who are inclined to be philosophical in their life decided that they must build a temple, and with some of the people, some of the doctors meeting Amma and asking for her advice, a temple was built in Antelope Valley. And Amma happened to be visiting, and it was our pleasure also to be present at that time. I happened to be there, and one of the highlights, I should say, of the Kumbhabhishekam was a Sannidhi, one of the Upa Sannidhis, that is not the main shrine, but one of the adjacent Sannidhis in the temple was for Akhilandeshwari. A bronze idol of Sri Akhilandeshwari was commissioned by some devotees of Amma and presented to the temple. She was about 5 feet tall, so big vigraha. And there happened to be one of our own people from here, a devotee who was looking after Sri Amma, attending to her every need. And along with two others, they Amma went around the temple before the program began. And she saw this Akhilandeshwari idol there. And the person who was taking Amma around from our temple said, the polishing up of this idol has not been done. I think Ayya's hands should touch the idol, then it will be a little different than what it is now. So Amma sent for me, Sri Amma, and asked me to go and clean up the idol and polish her up. And she said, if you want any materials, let us know. I let them know that I needed vibhuti and lime juice. And another gentleman, a devotee from New Jersey, by the name of Siva Ganesh, joined me. And we both took one side of the idol and started cleaning her up and polishing her. While we were polishing her up, I felt that the facial features of the deity needed to be brought out a little bit more. And for this purpose, I needed an abrasive that was softer than vibhuti. Many people know that if you use the vibhuti in conjunction with lime juice, the acidic nature of that and the abrasive in the vibhuti will clean it up. But I felt that a little more subtler material was required. So I asked for a new tube of toothpaste. And needless to say, the Orthodox priests in the temple were taken aback. And they discussed amongst themselves and they said, I don't think it is possible for us to bring something like that here. Anyway, the information was duly conveyed to Amma, and she sent somebody out and got a brand new tube of toothpaste and gave it to the same priest and said, give it to Ayya. So we spent a good 2 to 3 hours cleaning her up, polishing her. And Amma wanted to see what the final product looked like before it was open to the public, so she came up. That's a photograph that you see after she came and inspected the statue. When she came, she looked at the murti and she said, yes, the murti is much better looking now. And she thanked both Siva Ganesh and myself. And she said, I will give you something for this. I have to give you something. And she looked at me and she told me, place your finger on the neck of the Devi. And I did. She didn't tell me what to expect, but I placed my finger and immediately felt a pulse. Just like you would touch a human being, you would feel a pulse. I felt a pulse and she looked at my surprised expression and smiled. So I must have kept my hand there for about 20 seconds or so. Then she asked Siva Ganesh also to do the same. He felt the same. This was something like a blessing, what she gave. And after this, like she's standing in the photograph now, she stood in front of the murti and gave darshan to all the people, to the devotees who had come there to see her. And needless to say, she looked exactly like the deity in Tiruvannaikaval. So that's the story of Sri Amma for you. The story about Sri Amma. Now, you had also asked, the second part of the question was, why did she ask us to worship the Navagrahas? Because being a Purna avatar of Akhilandeshwari, Sri Amma like other deities, like other Devis, had appointed or has appointed the Navagrahas to mitigate and work out the karmic burden of the devotees who worship. So the Navagrahas are charged with a job by the power, that is the supreme power, to work and to mitigate the karmic burdens of the devotees who worship her. And this is the reason why dosham exists. It is very much like, suppose the President of the United States is there, he is all powerful. But if you want something done for a particular school or a particular district, you don't go to the President to ask him to do the job. For this, he has other secretaries of state, secretary of education, secretary of health, and so on and so forth. He will instruct one of them to take care of the problem that you had taken up with him. So similarly, this is the reason the worship of the Navagrahas has been recommended. Next question. Are there no more questions? Okay.
Sorry, how do we teach the younger generation the importance of puja such as Rasi Mandala Puja?
How do we teach the younger generation the importance of pujas such as Rasi Mandala Puja? This is a loaded question. I hope you understand that. First of all, the younger generation that is born and being brought up in this part of the world, in the Western world, they have absolutely, with very extremely few exceptions, they have no idea of what our culture is, what our religious practices are, and what our traditions are. Which means the person who is attempting to teach them any of these pujas or the values of these first has the serious responsibility of creating the background in them. Now ask yourself, which is the easiest way to impart knowledge like this to little people, little children? The best medium I have found in the 60 odd years I have been involved in the worship and the practice of Saiva Siddhantam and later on Sri Vidya and Kaumaram, the easiest medium is to tell them stories. Draw from the rich traditions that we have about the Navagrahas, about the Nakshatra Mandalas, about the Rasis, about the Devi. And you have to have the talent to hold their attention so that when you are speaking with or without visual and audio-visual aids, you should be able to hold their attention. You must be able to hold their attention sufficiently so that they can forget the devices that they always carry with them. Okay? So this is the first one. And you must choose stories that are related to whatever that your ultimate aim is. So first target is to create the background. And to create the background, you have to start telling them stories from the beginning. It must include, it may or may not include tales from the Mahabharata or the Ramayana or any of the other 18 Puranas, Shiva Purana, Markandeya Purana, any of those things. The second medium that I have found works, music is a universal language. And all of them, beginning with Ramana Maharishi, Swami Satyasai Baba, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, all of them have said, Nama Sankirtanam is the best medium for Kali Yugam. That means repeating the name of the Lord. Either if the children are well versed in Carnatic music, which I don't think is always the case, unless the parents are sufficiently enlightened to try and give the children the opportunity to learn this sacred art of Indian classical music, whether it is North Indian, South Indian, West Indian, East Indian, does not matter. Most of them, 99.9% of those songs and litanies and kirtanas or compositions are on divinities. Easier way of doing it is to involve them in the singing of bhajans, preferably with the employment of additional instruments. Instrumentation must be there. It must be pleasant for them to listen to. If the songs are not pleasant and they are being sung haphazardly, they will lose interest very quickly. So these two media you have to use. You have to learn. Now, here is the catch. You must know what the Rasi Mandalam is and what the planets are and how they work before you can teach it to them. So you have to learn it. At least the rudimentary lessons on Jyodidam, Jyodisham, you have to learn. Astrology, at least the rudimentary lessons you have to learn. And you have to be able to explain to them there is a Western system, an Eastern system, a Chinese system, an Indian system, a North Indian system, a South Indian system. So many differences are there. So you have to have the capacity to hold their attention, first of all. Now, all of these are loaded questions, loaded answers. It's not always you're going to find books in your home where you can prepare. So you have to seek out places, seek out libraries that will hold them. Small community libraries, sometimes, many times, in small towns, in small communities, will not hold books on Indian culture and Indian traditions. For one thing, their interest is to spread their faith. So why would they provide information on other faiths? And if and when they do provide information on other faiths like Buddhism or Hinduism or Jainism, 75% of what they write is false. So you have to be able to know which is right, which is wrong. So the best thing is to find a temple library and go there and find out what is there. And then learn this thing before you can teach the young ones. So that's how you proceed. So first of all, you have to educate yourself before you attempt to teach it to the young ones. Next question.
I just received the prasadam. Can youngsters wear Navaratna Mala or Spariga Mala?
Can youngsters wear Navaratna Mala or Spatika Mala? A Spatika Mala or a Navaratna Mala, they are not toys. And very often they are treated like pieces of jewelry. They are not. They have a specific purpose when you wear those things. A Spatika Mala, for instance, can be used for japam. Or If a person has hypertension, you can use that. It will lower the hypertension. And if the body has diseases that are associated with excess heat in the body, you can wear Spatikamala. And Navaratnamala, of course, you don't need to be told that it will mitigate some of the effects of the planets and the constellations. Now, most important, more than any of these things, when will a small child wear the Navaratnamala or Spatikamala? When the child is going out to play with friends? Certainly not. When the child is going to school? Certainly not. They will not allow ornamentation on the child jewelry. So the answer is wait till they are older. At least they should be teenagers before you start asking them to wear a Navaratnamala or a Spatikamala. Next question.
Often people engage with their nakshatras and rasis only during times of difficulty. What are the benefits of doing Rasi Mandala Puja during good times?
Can we have this question on the screen so people can read it? People engage with their nakshatras and rasis only during times of difficulty. What are the benefits of doing Rasi Mandala Puja during good times? You will still get the same benefit. Even if you are having a good time, that means that your karmic cycle is at a point where you're supposed to enjoy. Even if you're having good times, don't you thank God during good times for the good things, good blessings that he or she has given you? So yes, that's what kind of a question is that? Yes, benefits of doing Rasi Mandala Puja during good times is the same. Especially if you are undergoing difficulties, then it will help. But when you perform Rasi Mandala Puja during good times, you are thanking God for the blessings. Okay, so people often engage with their nakshatrams and rasis only during difficult times, right? There was a devotee of Rama who used to always pray to him, please give me difficult times so that I will remember you all the time. Give me difficulties all the time so that I can remember you. See, it's human nature. When we are enjoying something, when difficulties are not there, when the pressures of the family and the community and other powers that are exerting those pressures on you are not there, the mind forgets who gave these comforts to us. So it is always a good idea to worship those planets and the constellations and the mandalas and the rasis. At least remember them when you are doing puja. And for people who are following Sri Vidya, that Nitya Shodasikarnava Slokam, Ganesha Graha Nakshatra Yoginim, Rasi Rubinim, Devim, Mantramayim, Naumim, Matrika Peter Rubinim, it will remind you of all of them. So yes, you should do pujas. You should do the Rasi Mandala Puja even during good times. Next question.
Should one only sponsor the Rasi Mandala Puja once, or should we do it every time there are planetary movements?
Every time there are planetary movements, every year, the planets are in a different position. So my advice would be, do the Rasi Mandala Puja every time you get an opportunity to do so. Because the planets are always moving, they are not stationary. Okay, so every time you get an opportunity to do the Rasi Mandala Puja, please do so. Next question.
So related to that, can we still sponsor prasadam offered during the Rasi Mandala Puja? For example, blessed thread, salt and pepper, kubera padis, malas, and other items?
Absolutely. Except the Navagraha kalasas, nakshatra kalasas that were worshipped, all the other items that you have asked in your question, like blessed thread, salt and pepper. Salt is Lakshmi, pepper is Kubera. Kubera padi, malas, etc. All of these items are still available in the temple. The only item that may not be freely available will be the Navagraha malas. And the Navagraha yantras, there are also, those items are there. So you can call the temple and these items are still available because all of them have been worshipped during the Rasi Mandala Puja. They have been placed on the yantra and worshipped and they have received puja. So you can still sponsor them. Next question.
How does the Rasi Mandala Puja help with doshams that have no pariharam? For example, Savai dosham.
Savai dosham, it is wrong to say that it has no pariharam. For every, it may be a little more difficult to perform the pariharam for Savai because the Panchangam clearly states that the nivaranams, dosha nivaranams conducted for other planets are completely unlike the ones that are being done for Savai. And however much you may do pariharams for the other planets, the Savai dosham will not be mitigated. But there are ways of worshipping, of reducing Savai dosham. A, Savai is the Amsa of Subramanya. In fact, one of his namas, Ashtotrada namas, he is described as Subramanyaya Namaha. Then, if you worship, that means it follows that if you worship Subramanya, in his aspect, Savai also is deep orange in color. And he is supposed to be angry. He is supposed to be an angry planet. Subramanya, before he went to subdue Surabadma, was also described as an angry warlord. So, use your intelligence. When you worship Subramanya, as he prepared to go to war in Tiruchendur Subramanya, or Kadirgama Kandan in Kadirgamam, which was his forward camp in the battle. Surabadma's Rajadhani, his capital, was what is now part of the Indian Ocean, a reef called the Great Basses. Veera Mahendrapuram was supposed to be there. And it is directly south of Kadirgamam, Subramanya's forward camp. So if you worship him in that form, Savai dosham can reduce. So you know the worship for Subramanya. There are various ways that you can worship him. On Sashti, on Sashti, 6th day after the new moon, if you worship him. 60 days you can worship him. On Kritika Nakshatram, when the Kritika Nakshatram is on, you can worship him. And if the Kritika Nakshatram and Sashti and Tuesday all fall in the same day, that's the time to worship him. So you have to use your intelligence to find out which is the most appropriate time to worship him. That's one way. Second, way of doing pariharam for Mangala or Savai. You offer him tur dal. How do you offer the tur dal? Make a curry and offer it to him? Maybe one way. But the easier way would be to make what is called a sundal. That means it is boiled and sauteed, and you offer it to him. And if you offer it to him during that time, when you are worshipping Subramanya, the best time to worship him, like Shiva, for instance, is Pradosha Kala. If you can worship him at that time, it is great. That is second way. Third way is you can do Subramanya homum. Moola mantra homum you can do for Subramanya. So, Rasi Mandala Puja alone will not cut the deal. You will have to supplement your Rasi Mandala Puja with worship of Subramanya and Savai during those days. Preferably on Tuesdays. There is one effect if you do it on Sukla Paksha, that is the growing phase of the moon. There is another effect if you do it on Krishna Paksha, the disappearing side of the moon, on Tuesdays. Now remember what I told you, Kritika, Tuesday, and Sashti. If all three fall on a Tuesday, that is the best time to worship him. And make it a practice to be able to restrain yourself, your food take and other, there are several things that you can do to cut down on certain types of food during Skanda Sashti, a period of 6 days when he is supposed to have fasted before he went to battle. That time you should do worship of Subramanya. Then Savai dosham will be reduced. Next question.
Why do we offer black sesame seeds for Sanishwara? For example, the black sesame seeds during Navagraha homum or burning lamps with sesame seed oil for Sanishwara.
The pulse that is associated with various grahas has been mentioned. For that, wheat is for Surya, the sun. Rice is for Chandra, the moon. Tur dal is the pulse for Savai, Mars or Mangala. Green gram, Pasipayru, is the one for Buddha, Mercury. Chickpeas for Guru or Brihaspati. And soya beans or kidney beans for Bhargava. That is, Bhargavam is Shukran, Venus. Black sesame is for Sanishwara. So whatever the pulse that is mentioned for them, you offer. Similarly, for Rahu, it is black gram, urud dal. For Ketu, it is horse gram. So these pulses are always standard for each of these planets. The pulse for Sanishwara is black sesame seeds, not white sesame, remember. Although they are both sesame seeds, they are different. When you burn them, if you burn white sesame, the crackling sound is gentler. If you offer black sesame, it is much more pronounced. So that's the reason why you offer, during the Navagraha homum, you offer black sesame seeds. And the word for oil in Tamil is ennai. If you break it down, it will come to el plus nei. El nei. That means the oil taken from from sesame seeds. And if you use it to burn lamps or light lamps in the house, Saneswara dosham will be reduced automatically. If you use sesame oil for cooking, similar result. Next question. Does the number of elephants placed around the Rasi Mandala matter? Should they be placed in multiples of 8? The closer they are placed together will please your ayah, that's all. The Rasi Mandala, when the elephants are placed very close to each other, they look like that the Rasi Mandala is being guarded by an army of elephants. That's the idea. Pattini Putra Parivara Ayudha Vahana Samedam. That means the 8 Diggajas, beginning with Indrani and Airavata, the mount for Indra in the east, they have their wives and their children and their retinue, and their extended families are all around. So it does not matter whether you place it in multiples of 8, so long as the whole thing is full. Next question.
What is the connection between salt and Lakshmi and pepper and Kubera?
It is the same thing. Salt is always equated to Lakshmi. Salt is equated with the sea, with the oceans. And the oceans, she is called Alai Mahal, daughter of the waves. Kalai Mahal, daughter of all knowledge, is Saraswati. Alai Mahal, daughter of the waves, is Lakshmi. And if Lakshmi is in the ocean, the Milky Ocean is her origin. And the Milky Ocean is the cerebrospinal fluid that is there in your brain. And 70% of your body is water. Just like a large portion of the earth is covered with water. In that water, salt is there. Lakshmi resides in that salt. That's what the Shastra says. Similarly, along with Lakshmi, when she came out of the Milky Ocean, when it was churned, Kubera also appeared there. And Kubera is described as a Mitra. That means he is a friend to the Lord, to Shiva. And he was appointed to make sure that the money, that the wealth that Lakshmi possesses, which is given to her devotees, is spent in a dharmic way. So, Kubera is the accountant who is the one who is going to ask you for accounts for everything that you do with the money. That's the connection between the two of them. Next question.
Do the Navagrahas have a flower or dravyam specific to each one? I think
Yes,
you discussed.
of course. You just saw with the pulses. Not only do they have a flower or a dravyam, they also have gemstones associated with them. They have colors associated with them. There are particular flowers and particular roots and particular barks that are associated with each of them. That will form a completely separate lesson. So, yes, they do. Each one has a separate dravyam and a flower and a fruit. Next. Next question, please.
I feel more focused when I do puja alone. What is the significance of doing group or large pujas versus individual pujas?
This is an individual thing. There are people who feel that they are more focused when they do group worship. This is why satsangam is always recommended. When you sing alone, the effect is different. When 25 voices join together and sing with you, it is different. I wish you had been, the person who asked the question, I wish you had been here for the Punaruddharana Kumbhabhishekam of Sri Rajarajeswari that took place in 2010 in the month of July, when well over 180 people were chanting Rudram together at the same time, 11 times a day. The effect was completely different from when you did Rudram alone. So yes, there is more power, because if you have a weight in front of you, if you try to lift it up alone, you have to exert a lot of your strength. If 25 people are with you, you can lift it easily. So always group puja is much more beneficial. But like I told you in the beginning, it is extremely individual. If you have gotten used to worshipping alone without any distractions or anything like that, that is what happens when you worship alone, then the individual worship is more powerful. But if you want effects, a collective effect for the community, then community worship is much more, it is stronger. Next question.
Why were Spadiga used for Navagraha Devatas?
Why they are not Spatika malas, they are malas made from different semi-precious stones. So the malas, if you looked at them closely, they were Navagraha malas that were used on them. They may not be the same quality that you would wear, but they are, remember, during the Rasimandala Puja, just like you wear clothes to go to office, or you wear clothes to go to school, or to go to shopping and things like that. Will you wear the same clothes that you wear for shopping when you go for a wedding? Tell me. So this Rasimandala Puja is actually Kalyanam for them. They have to look their best for you, the devotee who comes to see them. If they are not decorated and dressed up properly, you will probably not be able to remember them when you go back. All the statues will look gold because they are all gold plated. And you are not going to spend that much time looking at each individual feature on the statue. So the decorations count. That is the reason why we used not the Spatika malas, the Navaratna malas on them. Next question.
We'll do the last question for today. Is it important to inhale the smoke coming from the homum or lamps burning in order for the effect to be absorbed? If so, why is this?
The purpose of performing the homum itself is so that you can smell the gases that are produced. Some of those gases will be colorless, so you won't see them. Some gases you will be able to see. Now I'll give you a very crude example. If you take a handful of turmeric and throw it into the fire, you will have thick white smoke coming up. That's the curcumin that is burning, and the complete oxidation of the curcumin produces a particular gas. It is for that reason why they say when they offer so many dravyams, so many rare herbs and spices into the fire, when it burns, they give off various gases that are absolutely useful for your body. Sometimes even the trace elements can be inhaled like that. So you have to. And when the oil is burning in the lamps, that also produces a particular type of gas. You're supposed to inhale that also. Okay, so this is for health reasons. And if you did that, if that kind of a reaction took place during the Rasi Mandala Puja, it would act as a catalyst for the effect of the mantras. Okay? If that is all, we will close for today.
Yes.
Have we come to the end of the questions? Are there any more?
Yes, the questions for today. There's a couple of other ones, but not related to the topics as well. But we're mostly wrapped up on the questions.
You can ask if you have finished the questions or run through the questions on Rasi Mandala, you can ask the other one. There may be time for one more answer.
So this question asks, how do we include worship of the Navagrahas as part of the Shodasa Upachara Puja? Is there an upachara that corresponds to the worship of the Navagrahas?
Yes. When you are doing Shodasa Upachara Puja, when you come to the place where it says, Pushpaihi Puja Yami, you say Suryaya, Chandraya, Mangalaya, Budhaya, Guru Shukra, Shaniswarapya, Rahave, Ketave, Namaha, and place a flower on the Sri Chakram. Done. Or chant Ganesha Graha Nakshatra Yoginim, Rasa Rupinim, Devim, Mantramayim, Naumim, Matrukapita Rupinim, and place a flower. You're done. So that is the way to include. You have to be innovative and creative even when you are doing puja. Okay? Can we conclude today's session?
Yes, Ayya.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Aya, for helping us with our doubts through this Q&A session. To access all content from prior sessions, please visit srividya.org/aym-lectures. We would like to thank everyone for joining us for today's session. At this time, I'd like to hand it over to Vyasa Uncle from Ashtanga Yoga Mandir to begin today's yoga session.
Greetings and pranams to Ayya and all the devotees of the Sri Vidya Temple, the members of the Ashtanga Yoga. In the practice of yoga, the alignment of the body is important. Basically, you will see in the principle of yoga, the body is structured in a way which is called as the 5 koshas. Annamaya kosha, pranamaya kosha, manomaya kosha, vijnanamaya kosha, and anandamaya kosha. Or in the Eastern systems of some school, they call it as the Stula Sarira, Sukshma Sarira, Guna Sarira, Pancha Kanchuga Sarira, and Karana Sarira. So this is how the body is divided. So when we are doing all the relevant practices, depending on what koshas, the alignment of the koshas are important. And very importantly, you will see that the Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manonmaya koshas alignment are very important to bring out the inner skills of an individual. Chantings, yajnas, rituals plays a magnificent role in improving it, refining it, that alignment. So when a person is going into the practice of yoga, especially when he goes into the practice of pranayama, we have to ensure that certain alignments are important. For example, you will see when you're going into your sadhana or individual sadhanas, or if you're going into your pranayama practices or the practice of the mantra chanting for a very long hours of duration, the alignment of the body is important. So how do we test? Sometimes we know the body is in perfect condition. So to understand the alignment of the neck, to understand the alignment of the shoulders, to understand the alignment of the fingers, we do a specific alignment methodology, which is called as comes as the yogic health assessment. So how do you do that? So basically what you can do is you can either come into this standing position or seated position. Because of the space, I'm just showing it on one side to you. Bring your hands in this position. So the palm faces up. Then palm faces the screen. Then the palm faces downward. So you do that with both your hands. Then the palm faces backward. So up to here, everything is in perfect condition. For some people, even this position is very triggering. So you be in this position for 27 counts. From here, you turn your palm completely up and be there for 27 counts. So sometimes when some people are there, the hand may come like this, the hand may come like this, the hunching may happen, all these things may happen. So that means the alignment of the shoulders and the neck and the hands needs to be done. So you be there for 27 counts, be there, and then turn your palm back, turn your palm down, turn your palm in front, turn your palm upward. So this position gives you the indication of if you are able to keep, so when you turn your palm, if you are able to keep a glass and hold it there for 27 counts without a shivering, that means your alignment of all these things are in good condition. So that becomes an assessment and that becomes as a practice. At the same time, you can just take your hands behind like this, hold it. If you can hold, is okay. This is the final posture where the fingers, that is the edge of the finger. So behind you should be able to hold it like this. And then from here, you start moving down. Breathe out. Breathe in backward. Breathe out forward. Breathe in back. Breathe out. So you do 9 rounds and be there down for 9 rounds. And then come up. And then slowly take your hands up. And then you take it on the other side. Take your other hand. Try to hold it same way. Sometimes you may not be able to hold it. If you're not able to hold it, just place it wherever it can. For example, the same. You're keeping it like this. You're only able to keep like this. Do the practice this way. That's fine. Sometimes you'll be able to touch. That's fine. Sometimes you'll be able to hold it. Then you're fine. So like that, you go on doing it, moving 9 times forward and backward. So this practice, you can do it with a specific asana. You can do it in standing. You can also be in the homum asana. So that is basically, you can do like this. You can even bring your right leg up and then bring it like this and then start moving. Breathe out when you go down. Breathe in when you come up. So when you go on doing like this, you will see that the alignment of the system becomes very effective. especially for the pranamaya kosha and also for the hand regions. These practices becomes a very effective tool. So thank you once again. The patient's observation and practicing together will complete the session with the Shanti Mantra. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you.